This probably isn't the best view for the camera. Hold on. There we go. See how we adapt like that? So cool. That sun is definitely blaring today. So this is probably a little better here. So that's cool. I want to welcome everybody to the webinar here as I get the perfect. There we go. There we go. All right, we're getting it. So anyway, welcome to the Wednesday webinar. It is the first week of December, and one of the things that I wanted to first start off, hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I know I did. It was, as usual, too much food and crazy family and um, a lot of socializing over the break, so that was great. We have been, Greg, how are you? I got your thing straightened out. That's what I've been working on here. So you're good to go.
Excellent.
I wanted to touch base today on a couple things. Number one, we have joined, and Greg, you'll like this, the Orlando Association of Realtors. So we're members of Orlando, Tampa, Miami, Jacksonville, which is NEFAR, and Key West in Florida. So we've got the state surrounded. So that's good. Not to mention everything in Illinois and Indiana. So we're growing at a really good pace. The second thing is we've got a couple of cool things coming up. So the first thing is continuing education and licensing. If you know somebody who wants to get licensed for real estate, even if they're not coming to Anton, we've got a pretty good link on our website now under our team, and we've partnered with McKissick. So if you're doing continuing education, and for those of you whose licenses are going to be need to be renewed in 2020, you can go right to the website and go off of McKissick and get a major discount. We've partnered with them to do that. If you want, you don't have to. It's just an option for you. The other thing that we've got on the website, and you'll notice under our team, is Anton gear. So if you want Anton gear like this, from sweatshirts to hats to shirts to polo shirts, to you name it, from a clothing standpoint, you can find a lot of that on there. We're also going to be adding different things that you can bring to your clients if you want to promote you, the agent, right? We're not about necessarily promoting Anton, but we want to promote you, the agent. So what you're going to see on that sales page for gear is you're going to see some added things on there for, let's say you wanted to put your name, let's just use Greg because he's on here. Greg, you wanted to put your name and your contact information on mugs or business cards, or not business cards, sorry, business material, or gosh, anything, calendars to, I don't know, phone covers to anything. All of that stuff is going to be on there, so you can order it right from the site. So go to Anton Gear. Some of the closing stuff is on there now, so if you wanted to order that, you certainly can. One more quick announcement with regard to scheduling. We're going to be, of course, we have these trainings on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And then what we're planning for 2020 is we're going to start to build for a live event. I don't know when this is going to be, if it's going to be in the summer, if it's going to be in the closer to the fall. But we are going to plan for a live event. It's going to be kind of a training event, celebration event. It's going to be down in Florida. So the agents that are in Indiana and Illinois, you're probably going to have to shoot down to Florida. You can't act like that's a big problem, though. I'm sure with the weather coming up, it's going to spark you to think about how nice Florida is. But so just be on the lookout for that. We want to start building for that and having a live get together, at least one a year, for all the agents until we outgrow that, until we have to get into big arenas or something like that. But I just wanted to kind of have you start thinking about that. But back to today, we are finishing our leads category, and this is something that we've been covering in our mission in November. It's been all about leads. To date, we've covered 32 leads, 32 of them, and we're going to add some more today. So I'm going to share my screen a little bit. Boom, this is where we ended off, number 32. And the big thing here is implementation. Have you implemented what we've talked about? That's the real big thing with these leads. You want to make your 2020 the best ever. Take this list and go back and review these webinars that we've been going through and implement these. There's free ones, there's paid ones, there's some that are very simple and some that are more complex. But take this month of December and start to implement these. Some that you can put on automatic pilot, and I'm telling you, if you want to make your 2020 the best year yet, you'll implement some or all of these. With that being said, the one other announcement is December, we're not really using a theme, but January, our theme is all about sales. And this may flow into February as well, but all about sales. How you close a sale, what do you do with a prospect, how you communicate. Of course, for those of you that have talked to me, we use something called a spin method of selling. So we're going to be going through that, which is a strategy that you can use on anybody, a buyer, a seller, somebody, you're going to list a property. If you're into property management, any of that, you can use this strategy and technique. So you don't want to miss those webinars. They're going to happen starting in January. But we're not in January yet. We are finishing off our leads. So number 33 is use Facebook Live. Now, I got to confess, I don't really use a lot of Facebook Live stuff. One of the reasons is I'm more into YouTube side of thing. The Facebook and YouTube and other social media have really kind of gone to video. 90% of the world's content by this coming year, 2020, is going to be video. That's blows my mind, but that's true. So if you're not using video to pump your message as an agent broker in your field and in your market, I think you're really missing out. This is something that Heather has really gone to over the last couple of months. Matter of fact, she's doing videos today. And it's really brought in her a dramatic amount of business because of those videos. Matter of fact, we go out now, and I think I mentioned this before, we go out now, and we would walk into a restaurant, and they would go to Heather and say, "Oh, you're John's wife," and that no longer happens. We go into a restaurant, and they'll come up to me and say, "Oh, you're Heather's husband." So that's actually it's what's happening now because of her video usage. If you want some examples on that, I try to put some on Facebook as much as I can on the Anton page on Facebook. Matter of fact, Carlos, an agent in Tampa for Anton, has now started the videos, and I put at least his first one on the Anton Facebook page. So try it, use it. I'm telling you, it works. For some reason, people get more engaged by videos really than anything else. So again, I can't stress this enough. If you want to increase your 2020 production, video is the way to go. And we're going to do a webinar on this because so many people have asked me questions on what does it take? How, what happens? There's a few basic things you need to do, and we're going to go into that later. But one of them is just keep them short. 30, 45-second videos is I just did. Ads. What is that, Greg?
I just did 2 Facebook ads.
You did? With video?
Yeah.
Did you just put them on today?
One last week and one this week.
Okay. Awesome. How did it feel?
Oh, great. I love doing the videos.
Yeah. When I first started doing the videos, I felt a little awkward, but you're right. It's simple, right?
Yeah. So I use Karen as my cameraman.
There you go. There you go. We probably, you know what? We rather have Karen on camera though than you. That's what the consensus is, Greg. I'm just saying.
Here, I'll do this. I'll help you out.
I'm just kidding. So the next one here is something that is really kind of it's kind of one of those things where it seems simple, but it's not. Target abandoned properties. In my neighborhood here where this office is, our real estate office here in Northwest Indiana, um, this is something we don't do enough of. I see properties that I know are vacant. Matter of fact, there's one right around the corner here. And every time I drive by it, I'm like, I got to check into that. I got to check into that. And I don't. And I'm kicking myself for that. Not only would I want to do that as an investor, but I want to do that as a real estate agent. Remember, when somebody has a problem to solve, you as a real estate agent are in a position to help them. Number one, provide service to them, but number two, that's how we get paid. So if you see abandoned properties, or if you've got your network out there when you're talking to people, hey, do you know a property that's abandoned? There's software today. We have some in our office that will help you with that. It'll tell you who the owner is. You can start marketing to them. Maybe there's a sickness or a death, or they're in pre-foreclosure. You don't know what that is, but you as an agent should be able to help with that. So target abandoned properties. Put that in your repertoire, or have your assistant or whoever help you with that. Number 35, man, I can't believe we've gotten to 35 here. Review analytics. Now, this is going to be one that's a little bit, let me get it. There we go. Review analytics for best communication. Let me put this up here, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. Let me read this, and then I'll explain it. One of the keys to taking your relationship marketing, because that's exactly what we're doing, by the way, to the next level, is digging into analytics. When do your contacts tend to respond to email most often? Timing your communication to take place when your contacts or clients are spending time online will get you there faster, more online responses. So when I put those notes down, what I meant was, this may take a little bit, but as you start to send out messages and you're doing your email marketing, you're doing your Facebook marketing, Greg, when you're putting that information out there, those two companies, especially Google Analytics and others, do a very good job of not only giving you open rates, but you can actually find out when is the best time to send that email if it's email marketing. When's the best time, or how should you create that ad so that it gets the most impact? Look into the analytics for that, because it does make a difference. One of the things that when I used to send out more email marketing than I do today, I realized that I said, well, I'm not going to send it out on Monday morning because people are just getting back to work after the weekend and they're busy. But guess what? Analytics say that Monday morning at between 9 and 10 o'clock is the most popular open rates for that. I guess people really aren't busy. They're busy opening email is what they're doing. So make sure that you look into that. When you're looking at leads and to developing and nurturing those leads, as I put on my notes, it's relationship marketing. That's really what we're doing here, and cultivating that. You want to kind of highlight when is the biggest open rate for your clients or customers. That's going to be real important for you to think about. So if you need anything or have any questions with that, I'm here for you. Please reach out, because I've done quite a bit of this and I've studied quite a bit of those analytics. So not a lot of people look into those, but if you need help, please let me know. Okay, this is a big one. This next one is a big one that Heather does a lot. And, for most of you know that we spend a lot of time in Key West, Florida. We've had a home there for a long time. Matter of fact, I'll be there. Let's see, what's today? Wednesday. I'll be there Monday. So this next one is post in Facebook yard sale groups. I know this sounds crazy, and Greg's nodding his head. let me just put this down in Facebook yard sale groups. What does this mean? What is a yard sale group? Not a yard sale group, John. A yard sale group. There we go. Did I even say that right? That's two words. There we go. So what is a yard sale group? Well, on Facebook, they have this section that's almost works like a neighborhood garage sale. And what's interesting about that is, and this is just what I've noticed, I could be just taking it a certain way, but what I've noticed is there's a culture around this yard sale group, and this is a community. They're tight knit. And you as an agent broker, if you can work yourself into this yard sale group of your community, that's a really good place to be. Number one, you can position yourself as the market expert. Number two, because this group is so tight knit, and you might only have 50 to 70 people in there, I don't know, maybe more, maybe less, but because they're so tight knit, this is a great way to instantly not only give yourself a community to work within, to start pumping knowledge to or pumping content to. Remember, as we're marketing to all of these people, we don't want to go in there selling. In other words, hey, I'm a real estate agent. Can I sell your house? You really want to use what we call the Trojan horse effect. This is something that we'll probably be talking about more in the spring as we get into our marketing side. But what the Trojan horse effect is where you give content, and then on the fifth contact, you might sell a little bit. But when we sell, we typically are selling more at a 90 degrees rather than at 0 degrees. And what does that mean overall? That means, you could give content like, what are the best rated restaurants to go to in that little neighborhood market, right? What are the home values that are happening in that specific market? You're not asking them to sell their home. You're not asking them to use you as a buyer's agent. You're just giving them content. And in doing this, you're really kind of promoting this in a way that you're selling at 90 degrees. You're selling without, quote unquote, selling to them. And when you build value, especially in a close-knit group like that, the yard sale groups, and you're using that as a lead for you, it really does work. Now, this is something that you can go out. Here, let me give you a quick tip. This, if you go on our blend, the blend on the back office for us, there are a ton of articles by Realtor.com. You can take those articles, you have permission to take those articles, and you could forward those into this Facebook yard group and position yourself as the expert. It's not like you have to write these articles. They're already there for you to use. Just use those and borrow those and put them in there as specific to maybe that little neighborhood, and then do a little commentary on it. Or, like Greg just mentioned, he's doing a Facebook ad. You might do a video walking around a neighborhood or maybe a downtown area of a neighborhood and highlighting a new business that came in town, playing the role almost of like a TV commentator. Again, the real mission here is to use this Trojan horse effect where you're giving content, and along the way, you're building trust and rapport. Then, the fifth or sixth time out, then you might sell, hey, by the way, guys, I'm a real estate agent and broker locally here. This is what I focus on. I focus on helping buyers find the home of their dreams, or I focus on, helping sellers get the most bang for their buck when they sell their house in the shortest amount of time. And don't overdo it. But after you've given content and build trust and rapport, that's going to be a easier pill to swallow than just coming right on the scene and saying, hey, I'm a real estate agent. Use me. I'm the best. So that's how you're going to really take advantage of that lead. Now, here's another one, 37. And I was taking a few more notes. Hopefully you're taking notes as we're going along here. This is one that I'm telling you, this is like a sneaky thing to do, but it's not sneaky in a bad way. It's sneaky in a good way, and that's hobbies. My son is 5. He's involved in baseball, karate, basketball, so on and so forth. And one of the things that I've noticed is when you're participating in these groups, like Heather will work the snack bar at the baseball fields, right? Or Heather might work um, something else, or I'm sitting at the karate event and they need volunteers for something. That's a way to get your name out there, and especially in the community. And it all centers around either your kids' hobbies or your hobbies. So, my hobby, let's see, my hobby might be golf. And it is, even though I'm not the greatest at golf. But one of the things that we've done in the past to get our name out there to get a lead is we went to the local golf course and we were a sponsor on their golf card scorecards. So every time somebody was golfing and they got a scorecard, they would see, Heather Dessauer at Anton, and this is what she does. Um, Again, it's centered around your hobby. So make sure that you're thinking about that and you're putting that in place. Again, that's a free one. Not all of these suggestions that we've made on these leads are free. Some cost money, but it's how much of these can you implement and put on automatic pilot, right? You should always be thinking about how you're promoting yourself with what you're doing in the marketplace. So hobbies are a great way to do that. And the idea behind that again is to again be involved in something you love, and then also introduce the people that are in that arena that you've built trust and rapport with as to what you do. Remember, Trojan horse effect. Number 38. This is actually a cool one. Now, I'm going to get into Facebook ads here in a second, and Greg, you're on here, so I'm going to use you. I'm going to use you as an example here, maybe. Use Form Builder to capture leads. So anytime you're using a Facebook ad, or you're on Instagram, or you're on LinkedIn, or any of the other ones, you always want to bring them somewhere, right? So I'm sure, Greg, with your Facebook ad that you just created, you're bringing them somewhere. Where are you bringing them to?
Basically, it was just contact videos. Mount Dora does a bunch of festivals in December, so I talked to them about coming down to Mount Dora on the dates that they were having the festivals. And I also did one in the community I live in because I like to work where I live, and inviting them to come in and check out where I live. It's a gated community with a pool and golf, tennis courts and what have you. So it was two
Yeah,
30-second videos just for that.
sounds like I want to come visit you there.
You should. When you come
Yeah.
down to Key West, stop in Mount Dora. It's a
You
beautiful
got absolutely. There's no mountain there, though, correct?
We're a little bit above sea level. You might get a bloody nose. We're like 164 feet.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So, so that was a little bit different that Greg was doing. However, on a typical Facebook ad or Instagram or LinkedIn, what you're going to want to do is, instead of again, think about this Trojan horse effect. We're going to be talking more about this when we do the sales in January. But one of the things that you'll note is we're going to keep talking about selling at 90 degrees, not at 0 degrees. So again, what does that mean? That means that you're getting their interest, you're building trust, you're building rapport, but you're getting them to think differently. And you can do this through your video ads. You can do this through any ad that really you post on those social media sites. Sometimes it's not an ad. In other words, sometimes it's not an ad where you're selling something like, whatever this would be. You are actually giving content. So on these ads, you might give a free report on 10 ways that you can increase your home's value in 2 months, or whatever that is. You're actually giving them content. You're giving them something that has value in exchange for their email address or maybe their phone number, kind of thing. And the reason you want to make that exchange, and you want to make it fair, right? You want to make sure that that report is something they're going to be interested in, but also you want to make it so that somebody says, "Oh, I have no problem giving my email address or my phone number to get this report." And then from there, you're going to put them into an email marketing campaign, some kind of campaign. I'm actually building a pretty large campaign right now, and I always think of how this works. So if I'm doing a Facebook ad, where are they going? Like I'm giving them something. I get their email message or their phone number, because text messaging is really, really big right now as well. As a matter of fact, text messaging, as far as a marketing scenario, is far outpacing email marketing. Just keep that in mind. We'll talk about that as we go along here. But if I exchange that, where am I sending them to? Well, I'm sending them to either I'm sending them to nowhere and I'm giving them a report. And once they get the report, then I'm putting them in a system, or I'm actually sending them to a landing page. A landing page is a way that you can get a message across. The reason that a landing page is effective is because it's focused. Landing pages are different than websites, because websites might have 10, 15 pages to them or something like that. But a landing page typically has one page, and it has a specific purpose. Now, sometimes a landing page is called a squeeze page, because really what you're doing is squeezing out some information from them, i.e. an email address, i.e. a phone number. So think about that, where you're sending them. From that squeeze page, that information should go right into your CRM, whatever it is that you're using. And your CRM, like we use Copper here, and we use a lot of them actually, Constant Contact, Infusionsoft, Copper. But once it goes into that CRM, then it's automatically going to start this email marketing campaign, depending on what you want to do. Again, I would really recommend to all of you that you think about delivering content way more than you think about selling right off the bat to these people. Build value, build trust, rapport, and then start engaging with them as far as what you do. So that's use a form builder to capture leads. You should be doing this from your ads. You should also be thinking about doing this from your sites, your individual sites as well. Increase engagement in your real estate blog. I don't know how many of you are blogging. Sometimes this gets a little bit intimidating for people putting blogs together. There are services out there that will do this for you. The one that we use here is called Writer Access, but there's other ones too. Again, there's a lot of content that you can borrow from other people as long as you have permission. So you don't necessarily need to be a writer, but if you are putting out a blog, increase engagement on your blogs. If you are putting out content, you want to make sure engagement is high. Let me explain what I mean by that. Hosting a real estate, and this is the notes that I took for this. Hosting a real estate blog is a great way to drive traffic to your website. Now, these would be maybe your individual website, or a website that would be focused on a single-family house. Let's say that you're putting a house on the market for sale. Do you have a website for that house? In other words, it could be a 1 or 2 or 3 page website. That's a really hot thing today that is being done. If you haven't been doing that, let me know. But then you can do Facebook ads, drive them to your 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street house website, and then you can go through a lot of things. You can have video on there. You can have neighborhood stats on there, why you should buy this house, why house is of value in this neighborhood, all kinds of ways that you can go with that. If you want to leverage your blog to capture more leads, real estate leads, I'm going to give you one to check out. Check out Honey Bar Media Real Estate Blog Ideas. Honey Bar Media, just like it sounds, Honey Bar, B-A-R, and then Media, their real estate blog ideas. And you're going to get some really good ideas on what to blog about. Really keep your blog content really should be fresh and interesting to people, and at least 1,000 words in length. Again, you can put this together. You can have a company do it together, like Writer Access or one of the other ones. But this should give you some ideas that you should put on there. Try to get content out at least once a week. Try to get content out at least once a week. Why is that important? It's important because it shows consistency. It's important also because you want to keep your audience, as you're building it, engaged. Um, as you're sending out a new blog, you should also tie in that into your email marketing or your text marketing. For instance, you could text out to your client database or your prospects that, hey, new blog just came on my website, check it out, go here to read that. Or, hey, got a great new property at 1234 Main Street. Here's the property website that you're going to want to check out. So there's all kinds of ways that you can do this. Number 40. Now, this is going to involve a little bit of what we call trolling. Let me explain what I mean. Now, I don't normally tell people to give free advice, especially when you're a professional, licensed real estate agent or broker, because I believe anytime you give advice, you should be getting, you should be getting compensated for it, right? There's risk with that, right? So you need to be compensated for that. But one of the things that I've realized is that the World Wide Web is just that. It's a web. It's a spider web. And as I'm on there, and I'm part of a couple of forums, like just because I've got Florida on my mind and Greg's on here, I'm gonna keep it local there. I'm on the Florida Real Estate. Let's see, it's Florida Real Estate Agents forum in Facebook. It's a private Facebook page, right? So it's all real estate agents and brokers. There's other ones for Illinois. There's other ones for investors. There's different things like that. When somebody will post something, I will go on there and I'll troll them. And I do something called, I also do something called reverse hashtag marketing, which we can go into in a minute, but I use the same process. I'll go on there and I'll comment on something and I'll say, hey, here in Key West, we've had that situation before and this is how we got around it. If you have any more questions, just go to my website, johndessauer.com. And lo and behold, that is the quickest way to have people contact you. It works. I was shocked by that. I would think, when I first started to do that in something called reverse hashtag marketing, I didn't think that people were going to reach out because it's the internet. I figured they'd want to pick up a phone or they'd see you in person. But that doesn't work as well as the internet. Why? Because there's a buffer there. When you're texting someone, there's a protection buffer there. When you're sending a message through social media, there is a protection buffer there. So, people will respond on that. They'll at least go check out your website. And if you've got a website full of blogs and properties that you're marketing and things like that, only good things can come from that. So just kind of keep that in mind. Offer free advice on forums, but just be careful. Don't get into a agency relationship over that. And make sure you maybe even want to put a disclaimer on there. Hey, I'm not acting as your real estate agent, but what I've seen in the past with some of my clients is ... Okay. Number 41 here, 41. How many of us are using Twitter as a social media front? I certainly need to do that more. Of all of the leads that we are talking about here, which are going to be 43 or 44 of them, Twitter is in using that is probably. I have a Twitter account. I just need to be more disciplined to use it. And one of the ways that I'm going to be doing that is bringing somebody else in to manage that content for me. That's the easiest way to do that. And Greg's shaking his head in agreement with that. All of these things, you could get caught up in LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all these things. And nobody has the time for all of that. So either use a service that markets to all of those like Hootsuite, or you're going to outsource that to a virtual assistant to do that for you. We use virtual assistants here in the office. And I've got a professional with that, by the way, that if anybody here on this webinar wants to use a virtual assistant, we have he's almost a member of the Anton team. We've known him and worked with him for a long time. And he's a specialist in this. His name is Yoshi. And he's almost a member. I wouldn't say he's a member yet, but he's almost, well, he's more family than he is a Anton person. But if you need any help with that, reach out. We've got an expert with that. And then um, how you use Twitter is just like how you're going to use really any of the other social media. And again, you got to have a theme here, and it's this theme that I keep talking about, this Trojan horse theme, right? They don't know you're selling to them. It's content driven. You're building rapport. You're building trust. Content, content, content. Oh, by the way, I just want to let you guys know I'm a real estate agent and broker. Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. You're going to be the first person they think of when they're listening. You're going to be the first person they think of when their daughter's looking to buy a house. Oh, you should talk to Greg. Greg's an agent. He's part of our forum. He's part of the family here. Yeah, there you go. Boom. So that's the video I see, right? That's your video? Okay, right on. I'm going to go, as soon as this is over, I'm going to go check it out. And we'll put it on, well, that's on Facebook. Let's see if we can get it on, that's an ad on Facebook. Send me the videos. We'll put them on the Facebook Anton page. Number 42, generate local, geez, John. There we go. Local press coverage. This is somewhat easier to do than you would think. Press coverage is interesting because you don't need to necessarily be a part of a huge media market to make this happen. This can actually happen pretty easily for you. It could be local radio. It could be a small TV station. We have a couple of those here. But it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be on you being a real estate agent. Earlier in this lead coverage, a couple of webinars ago, we talked about charitable events. And that's a great way to get your name out there as a realtor, is to be a part of charitable events. And I know pretty much, I can't think of a person that's not involved in Anton that's not into charitably giving. So this is going to work right up everyone's alley. Now, you're not doing this to get the notoriety, right? You don't do charitable events to get, the kudos and awards and notoriety. But it sure doesn't hurt when the organization gives you a shout out. Hey, we want to thank Heather at Anton. She's a real estate agent broker. We want to thank Greg, who is in the Mount Dora area. By the way, if you're looking to sell a house, Greg's your person. It just kind of, it really works to your advantage on that. Now, you're not doing that just to get the accolades and get the money. Obviously, we're doing the charitable events for a completely different reason. But there is a benefit to that. It not only goes to show the type of person you are, but it also goes to show that you're involved in the community, you care about the community. And so that's one way you can get local press coverage. Another way is you can provide news to the local press. What do I mean by that? Well, have you ever been driving down the street and there was an accident, or you've been on our local weather channel, if you see a weather event with your cell phone and you capture it and you send it in, they actually give you credit on the TV for that. This is another way that you can get local press coverage. A third way is just to send in a press release. You can send in a press release yourself to all the major news. Now, I don't know if they'll pick it up. There's a chance they might not, but let's say that you had something noteworthy that you could put out to the press. They could pick it up, and especially locally, because when they're scrounging for news locally, not the big, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, all of those, but the local coverage stations. This might be a way for you to be able to do this, a new business in town. Or maybe you go to a business that you have nothing to do with and say, hey, what if I created a local press release for you? That might be a way that you guys can get more traffic coming through your restaurant or traffic coming through your store. You're helping somebody else. You send the local press release out, and then all of a sudden they're going to say, oh my gosh, Greg, thank you so much for doing that. We never even thought about doing that. How can we help you? Boom, now you're in. It's a different situation when they come to you. So 43, this has been a long road here. 43, um, this is something, again, this is kind of along with our Twitter account. This, I should have grouped all these into social media, but Pinterest. I do not know how many of you are using Pinterest. I would guess that not as many as we should, but I can tell you that Pinterest is really delivered by way of images, kind of like Instagram. And the reason that I know that Pinterest works and YouTube is working and other things like that is when you're marketing, if you're just marketing by words alone, you're not going to be as effective as if number one, you add an image. Number two, you add an image that's exciting or interesting to people to watch. And I see the sun keep creeping in here. Or number three, and probably more important, if you add a video. Video is moving and it's active and it's engaging. When I was working with Heather on her videos, when she first started out, her videos were stagnant like this. Like I'm on like this webinar, I'm pretty much stagnant. But when you're doing a 45-second or 2-minute video, you want, one of the things that you want to remember is you want to stay moving, right? You want to have action either in your background or you yourself. You don't necessarily get that with Pinterest. However, with Pinterest, when you're putting images up, same thing with Instagram, you're going to be focused in on, number one, the quality of the image. Number two, the quality in the picture itself. So for instance, a house that you're marketing. Like Greg, this is a good example for you. I'm using you all day on this webinar, sorry. Your house that you have for sale, your investment house, is fantastic, by the way. It's a great way. I don't know if you guys have marketed on Pinterest at all or on Instagram, but you should, and then create that as an ad to go around to the local people there so that they see the quality that you guys put into that house. One of the things I remember from that is the design of that you have the garage doors and the driveway pulling up. It automatically, it's a contemporary style house. And so contemporary is when you go to Pinterest, you can kind of organize your message out like that. So I would tailor that to hit a lot of the contemporary people on Pinterest. And you can geotag it so it's local. And that might be just another way that you can get a lead in on a house that you're trying to sell, not necessarily a lead for a real estate agent broker, but this is actually one of your own investments. So again, use Twitter, use Pinterest, Instagram, all of these things to really kind of help you with that. If you guys need any help with any of these leads, we went through 43 of them. And I would say, and I don't have my full list here, but I would say some of these are really, really good stuff, man. If you put these in action or have help getting these into action, you're going to have a great 2020. So that's it for our leads. We went through a ton of them. December, we're going to be covering some other training topics. And again, remember in January, we're starting our sales content. And this is probably going to flow into February. It's such a big topic, but how to close a sell. What strategy are you using? Are you using a method when you're going through this, when you're sitting with somebody? We use a certain method, and we're going to walk you through what that is. I'm going to give you the 4 or 5 books that have really impacted me on sales. And I think most importantly, it's what your activity is. That's all it is what separates a good salesperson and not a good salesperson is what your activity is. I'm in the mindset of how much can I give you? How much service can I give you? And I don't even care if you buy from me, but I know if I give you service and I build rapport and trust along the way, that the moment you need the service that I offer, you're going to come here first, or at least you're going to think about me first. You may not end up ultimately using me. I hope you do, and I'm pretty sure you will. But I want to be your first thought. If I'm your first thought and I can get you, you're going to be in great shape because I know I'm going to take care of you and service you. That's it. That's it for our leads. We're going to close this out. Great webinar. Greg, thank you for being my assistant on the webinar today. And I want everybody to have a great week. Good luck with that. And we will all talk next week on the training calls. Get to the website, check out the gear, CE, anything. We're adding new stuff all the time there. So you want to make sure you check that out. Other than that, that's it, guys. We'll talk to you next week.